everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kristen Martin. I'm an Amazon bestselling author of over 10 books, a content creator, a Halloween fanatic, and a new mom. I primarily make creative lifestyle videos with an emphasis on writing, routines, and productivity. So if that's your vibe too, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about 5 steps to writing a fantasy novel. And I feel like I am qualified to talk about this now that I have a completed 6-book series and another standalone fantasy novel on the way. All We Keep Hidden. This is an adult urban fantasy, sprinkling some paranormal romance that is releasing on Tuesday, October 7th, 2025. So mark your calendars. Whether you are writing a standalone fantasy novel or a series, it's no joke. It is no joke. So let's get into these 5 steps to writing a fantasy book. So I want to preface this by saying that steps 1 and 2 can very easily be interchanged. You know, they can be switched depending on whether your characters came to you first or your world did. So because we're talking about fantasy, I'm going to start with the world. So that is going to be step 1, build your world. This is where you're deciding on the setting. Is it high fantasy, which is a completely new world, or what's called low fantasy, urban fantasy, which means there's magic in our world? Or perhaps it's something in between. When it comes to building your world, you want to define the geography, the cultures, the history, the politics, the religions, as well as the magic systems. Make sure the rules of your world are consistent because this will prevent plot holes later on. Step number 2 is to craft your characters. Develop your protagonist, your antagonist, and any supporting characters, as well as what their motivations are. Give them strengths, flaws, as well as goals that drive the story, that really push it forward. Even though they're in a magical world, you still want to make them relatable. Make sure that they feel human to the reader. Step number 3 is to define the conflict. Every fantasy story needs a central struggle. This could be good versus evil, rebellion versus empire, personal growth versus destiny. Decide whether the stakes are personal, societal, or world-altering. Step 4 is to outline the plot. And this is really where you need to use a structure that works for you, especially if you're more of a pantser and the thought of outlining makes you want to pull your hair out. If that's the case, I do recommend checking out my pocket story planner where you can outline your entire book in 15 straightforward pages. I'll make sure to leave that link in the description box below. But there are a couple of different structures you can use, like the 3-act structure. That's where you have the setup, the confrontation, and the resolution. There's also the hero's journey, which always makes me think of Lord of the Rings for some reason. This is where you have the call to adventure, the trials, and the return. When you're outlining, make sure to plan major turning points as well as your climaxes, but also leave space for surprises and organic character growth. And step number 5 is to weave in magic and myth. I would advise against just info dumping your magic system or fantastical elements, as that can be very overwhelming for a lot of readers. Instead, introduce your magic system or those fantastical elements a bit more gradually. Weave them into the story. You'll also want to show how magic shapes the culture, how it affects politics, as well as how it affects daily life. Similar to when we're building our world, we want to make sure with the magic systems that we are keeping the rules clear. A little mystery is fine, but contradictions break immersion. And you really want your reader to be invested in and immersed in the story, not questioning how this magic system is fitting into the story and whether or not it's actually somewhat realistic or makes sense. And a couple of little bonus tips for you when you are actually writing that first draft. Think of this as you bringing the magic to life. Focus on immersing the reader in your world. Layer in those sensory details. Again, do not information dump all on a single page. Make sure to introduce mythical creatures, spells, prophecies, or artifacts in a way that feels natural to your characters as well as the plot arc. Show how magic or the supernatural affects daily life, battles, as well as relationships. So not just the big moments. I would also be cautious of over-explaining early on. I think it's best to let wonder and mystery carry the draft. And so once you have your draft, then it's about revising and refining it. This is where you want to check for world building consistency. Does your magic system follow its own rules? Are cultures, myths, and histories coherent? I'd also recommend polishing the dialogue so that it fits the world. So an example of this is maybe formal court speech versus a more tavern, rustic slang. Now, because it is a fantasy book, you also want your prose to be lyrical. And lastly, ensure that your climax not only resolves the personal conflict, but also the larger magical, mythical stakes of the world. So that is it, 5 steps to writing a fantasy novel. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it helped. Make sure to click that thumbs up button as well as subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.